Hey everybody, and welcome to Yecats Miniatures. This is Brett, and I am taking the lead on this show. And today, my guest is actually Grant. So how are you doing today, Grant?
Always well, man. Always good, and always happy to be talking about song with you, Brett. Always.
But the real question is, how do you feel about not being the lead of this podcast? Are you okay with sharing that role?
Oh man, yeah, I'm all good with it. I'm all good. It's sometimes quite nice to be submissive, isn't it? So I'll be the.
What do you think our listeners are going to make of it, though?
I mean, I think they prefer you to me anyway. I'm mumbling swear too much for them.
Well, you love to talk about all things A Song of Ice and Fire, so while you were not there in person, you were always with me in spirit at Super Regionals, where we got to see some pictures, some images of some stuff that's coming in the future. For those who did not hear from anyone who was at Super Regionals, it was not a Q&A. They did not open the floor for us to ask a bunch of questions, but they did share little tidbits here and there, got some nice information. I was doing my best to transcribe everything that Michael Shinall was saying. It wasn't a ton of reveals, just a really nice little tidbit of information, enough to at least start some speculating. And so me and Grant, today, we're going to take a look at these images. I was able to get my hands on high-res images of 4 of the new releases. And then I've got an image of the box, which it appears to be Neutral Heroes 3. I can't specifically remember if Michael Shinall confirmed that that's what the box is, but he did confirm for us that the female in it is Shay. We'll get to that in a minute.
What I will say is I think this release batch is the beating the afflicted box sets, isn't it? Because Umber Cavalry are chopping up farmers.
Yeah.
The Goldcloaks are beating up market stall owners. The Martell guys are kicking the shit out of just people now. Neutral Heroes 2, they're beating up chickens.
Yeah.
Elixir 3.
Yeah.
And the Greyjoys are beating up fishermen.
Yep.
Battering the afflicted batch.
Actually, that's really funny. You're right. Punishing folks for being poor is what it looks like. This is definitely the tired, the hungry, the poor, and the oppressed in this one, and they are getting wrecked. I actually have to agree with you. There's so much intimidation going on. You've actually got in the front and center is a store owner in the bazaar, just hiding from the Goldcloaks. Like, he doesn't even want to get battered. That's funny, man. The best is the fishermen, though. The fishermen are minding their own business. They got their nets and everything, and they're just the ones getting bludgeoned by a torch. The other one's trying to use a net as a shield. The guy on the Greyjoy pirate guy on the far right side looks like he's getting ready to take a chop at someone that's not even in the picture. So holy crap, man.
Yeah, and I think there's also in the Greyjoy one, I think there's also a fisherman hiding in the water somewhere because that Dothraki is trying to find him just to kick the crap out of him, teach him for farming fish.
Probably right. That is what he's looking for. He's looking in the water for the fisherman that tried to swim away. As soon as I find you, I'm going to stab you good.
Yeah, you can only hold your breath for so long.
That is definitely what's going on here. But what we have is, it looks like we have some Umber berserkers sitting on horses. So we're going to go ahead and say that this is some type of Umber unit. It has to be an Umber unit, right, Grant? There's not. You're looking at the image, the colors. There's not anything else that this is besides Umbers, correct?
Yeah, mate, 100%. Yeah, they've got the red robes on, the red tunic stuff, the bear skins. They're wielding axes rather than swords. There is a banner in the background of it, but I can't clearly make out what that is on the banner. It looks like it could be the chain giant of House Umber. It's got to be House Umber, isn't it? In the days, this axe wielding cavalry.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would suspect. Again, I'm not really sure. It could be anything else. So on to the next one. We are looking at, this was confirmed by Michael Shinall to be Lannister Goldcloaks. I think a lot of people will be excited about that, but we'll get into some of the spoilers and some of the things. Yeah, I mean, they're confirmed by Michael Shinall. What do you think about the artwork just at the initial glance?
I really like it. I think, to be honest, if we weren't involved in this game and we knew that this had come from like Michael Shinall's preview stuff, this could be a completely different setting. But I really like it, man. I really like the sort of how kind of aloof the Golden Cloaks look. It really sort of reflects how we sort of hear about them in the books, how they're sort of described in the books. Obviously, they're in King's Landing. Yeah, I mean, I really like it, mate. I really like it. It's really nice and clean artwork.
Yeah, I'm usually a fan of the artwork, right?
Yeah.
I've always been a fan. It looks like this is even more like maybe even a different style with some of these new boxes that we're seeing. I'm just really a big fan of the artist interpretation of this stuff. Just the art style, it's really nice.
Yeah, really. It's really Romanesque, isn't it? The like sort of the armor and stuff, and the cloaks on the Gold Cloaks themselves.
Yep, absolutely. And the next unit is a little bit Romanesque as well. These are confirmed by Michael to be Meereen Pit Fighters. Really nice looking. Really nice looking. Obviously, it looks like you've got Drogon flying over in the background. Got some lions there fighting in the pit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Heracars. Were they definitely confirmed to be Meereen's pit fighters? Are we sure that it's not actually the front artwork doesn't make any difference? Is actually a second version of Drogon in that box.
Oh, you know what? You could be right. I think they pulled distraction, right? They show the lovely lady there, and female Brad Pitt here is running distraction because actually the entire box is about the top left. It is a grown Drogon. That is what this box is. It has nothing to do with the pit fighters.
Or maybe, see, there's 3 lions there in the picture. Bottom right, we've got a lion. Bottom left, there's a female lion. Then you've got the male lion on the left, centre, and Drogon. Maybe it's a cavalry-based unit with 1 dragon and 3 Heracars on it.
You know what? It's going to be the first. It's going to be the first mixed arms kind of unit, right? It's like the old Skinks cohort where they had the crocs in the back. That's what this is. It's a cavalry unit with Drogon as the attached to a cavalry unit as the leader, but it's all monsters.
Sweet.
I think we cracked the code.
I'm into it.
Finally, the next image. Nothing was really confirmed about this. I think it's pretty safe to assume that this is Martell. You know, judging by the background, judging by the colors. I've heard the theory that they are another, like maybe a Starfall infantry. I think I heard one person say the name Darkstar. I don't know anything about it because I still haven't read the books, so I don't even know who Darkstar is or what Darkstar is. But the colors do seem to match with the Starfall, some black and purple, right? So I'm not 100% sure. You tell me, is there some correlation between Starfall and Darkstar?
Yeah. He's I'm pretty sure Darkstar is it's all part of House Dane, isn't it? Which is Starfall is their seat in Dawn. I mean, yeah. I mean, it does. Yeah. I mean, it's purple. It's definitely Martell. It's definitely Martell unit because there's the purple cloaks and all the Martell artwork we've seen previous to this are all quite heavy on the purple. I don't know too much about Darkstar. All I know that he's just a really cool character in the books. He's definitely a fan favourite, and we have seen 2 Starfall cavalry units be released. We've seen Darkstar in Heroes Martell Heroes 2. So if that could potentially be his own unit. I don't remember him having a unit in the books, but obviously, you know, it's artistic license, isn't it? So, I mean, whoever they are, they look brutal because they're actually going through the streets, chopping people up. So, artwork's great. Really like the artwork.
Yeah, those are some pretty menacing, really heavy swords there. I don't want to specifically names drop someone and be wrong, but I think it might have been Mark Ridge. Mark Ridge is a huge book fanatic, and I think I saw him say the name potentially Darkstar. I think for sure it's pretty safe to assume that it's got some type of Starfall collaboration. I'm not really sure because that's the colors from the Martells that match the Starfall, and they tend to kind of bring those things in kind of together. And we did get Starfall Outriders and Starfall Knights. So it could make sense if this is just a Starfall infantry unit. Very well could be.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. If it's another amazing 6-point unit for Martells, I'm going to hit the roof.
You know, it probably is. It probably is. They are probably like sworn brothers for the Night's Watch, just at 6 points. I mean, look at those swords. That's really, really cool. I dig it. We have here another one that I wasn't able to get a high-res image of, but we do have what looks to be a Greyjoy unit. Again, not the biggest book fluff, but I can't imagine this being any other pirate dudes jumping off a boat and storming ashore. Looks like they're killing fishermen for no reason.
Mate, look, you know what I find really, really strange with this artwork, right? I don't know if you got it in front of you. So the centre guy on his left knee, in the background, is that a random Dothraki guy just in the water?
Let me take a look. he looks Dothraki because I don't think he's wearing a shirt, but maybe
he's just trying to find his horse.
He's looking around in the water for something.
Yeah.
He's looking for buried treasure, obviously.
Obviously, or more fishermen to ruthlessly strike down.
Yeah. See, but you got a couple of guys carrying torches, really. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think the strangest thing with this artwork is there is absolutely no Greyjoy iconography on any of the armour, any of the clothing, any of the boats, any of the sails. So I do believe it's going to be a House Greyjoy unit, but I don't believe it's going to be an Ironborn unit. So like a properly Greyjoy unit, I think it's going to be one of the sub houses within the Greyjoy sort of fiefdom.
No, you know who it is.
Go on.
They are playing Jedi mind tricks. This is not House Greyjoy at all. This is a Lysene Pirates unit.
Well, it did cross my mind because obviously we have just seen the Lysene cell swords. Maybe these are the Lysene cell axes.
That could very well be what they are.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, mate, it's got I'll totally give you credit there. That could definitely be a pirate unit.
Yeah, you've got several guys with axes. This guy on the left looks like he's about to bludgeon this poor fisherman with a torch. And then there's a guy with a sickle. Right? It looks like a Dothraki Ankh, actually. And I'm not really sure what this other guy in the back has. I can't tell what type of weapon that is.
Amnesia. Just wandering around in the water.
The guy on the other boat definitely has an axe, and we're not really sure the guy jumping in what he's carrying.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to presume it's going to be a House Greyjoy unit or a Lysene cell sword unit or cell axe unit.
Cell blades unit. Yeah. They've all got nice beards though.
Yeah, nice beards tend to make getting bludgeoned to death whilst doing fishing a lot better.
Almost everybody in this game has a beard. There's very few that don't. Finally, I did not get a high-res image of this one. Obviously, we're going to circle back to them and go into a little bit more detail. The best guess for this so far is that it's a Neutral Heroes 3 box. The only confirmation that we got at that panel was Michael Chanel did say that this is Shay, standing there in the center.
In the white robe.
Yep. Is it a Lannister box? Is it a Neutrals box? We'll kind of go into that as we go, but he did say that it was Shay. So that's what we have. So overall, let's talk about the artwork. I think the first four, the Umber guys, the Goldcloaks, the Meereen Pit Fighters, and the Darkstar, seems to be a little bit of a different style than this box with Shay. The art style is a little bit different. The others are kind of a little bit closer to like a photorealistic.
Yeah.
There's nice smooth blends, and then it's not saying anything bad about the artwork, but when you look on the muscles and the things like this in the Neutrals box, it seems to, or the Neutrals or Lannisters box, whichever the case is, seems to be a little bit. Maybe a different art style of interpretation, but it's not as silky smooth as some of these others. If that makes sense, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think what you're sort of saying is that the actual unit boxes look more computerized. Do you know what I mean? So it all looks more like a like a real nice painting sort of look, like computer generated images. Where the second one is, it is quite sketchy. And again, you're right. There's nothing wrong with it being sketchy, but also we've got to keep in mind that the Neutral Heroes box is a much lower quality image. So, but yeah, they're definitely different styles. Definitely different styles.
Neutral or Lannister, whatever the case may be. We'll get to it though, and then we'll actually have our viewers cast a vote because we did not get any confirmation on what's in that. But we'll have you guys cast a vote in the comments after we get back to that. So let's go back to the Umber Cavalry. We've already taken a look at the artwork. We didn't get any details on this. No points cost, not even a clear definition of what their role is. But if you assume that it's something like Umbers. Now, these just straight up look like berserkers on a horse.
Yeah.
That's so. Do you think that you're seeing a cavalry unit get maybe stronger as they die, similar to the berserkers do? Maybe not the exact same thing. I don't know that they would do a cavalry that increases its attack die as it dies, because that kind of goes against the principle of cavalry. Because if that was the case, then the cavalry role as an alpha striker wouldn't be great, right? Like if they're going to give them 5 or 6 dice at first rank, you wouldn't think. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, do you think it's just it's interesting? They might have to really dip into the design space on it, because you can't just say they have sundering on a horse, because you've got hedge knights to do that.
Yeah, and Lance Cavalry, Tully Cavaliers of Sundering, don't they, as well?
Right, and then the Starks also have Stark Outriders as a speedy light cav. This looks to be a light cavalry unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think we've got to assume they're going to be a light cavalry unit, because I don't know really, because the Great Axes are quite heavily armored, aren't they? But
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maybe this is a mid cav unit. Maybe this is like the Night's Watch Vanguard, like a 4+, 5+ mid cav, like maybe a 7/5. Maybe they have sundering, maybe they don't. Maybe they've just got vicious. That could be cool. I don't think Starks have anything innately with vicious, do they? You've got to bring an attachment to get vicious for them.
Attachment or a card, isn't it? Or a tactics card is good to get some vicious, but nothing just straight up has it as an ability. So yeah, that'd be quite cool. I mean, I'd like to see them do something, because obviously the Great Axes and the Umber Berserkers both have extra kickers as they lose ranks. So I think it'd be quite nice to see them do that. But as you say, it's a bit worrying that you're going to be sending a fully healthy unit into another unit and get no benefits because you haven't lost models yet. Because you sort of that design space of Starks doing better on the last rank. I don't really know how that's going to play with cavalry, because trying to balance that on 6 wounds as a cavalry unit.
Ready for my official guess?
Go for it.
Lock it in. This is my guess. I think they're a light cav.
Yep.
They're movement 6. Their defense is probably going to be 5. They're going to have good morale because they're Umbers. I think they're going to come with vicious. And I think if they lose a rank, so when they're at their last rank, they're going to get, I don't know that it'll directly be intimidating presence, but I think at the last rank, there's going to be some kind of bonus that makes them actually do some panic damage. Whether that's applying a panic token, whether they gain intimidating presence, or they get like a reverse brigand, like just dealing +1 wound or dealing +2 wounds for failed panic tests because they're almost dead.
Yeah. Well, do you think they might offer something different to the start player? Do you think they might come with something like Fuel by Slaughter?
Ooh, that's a nice guess.
For a bit of healing.
Yeah, that's why we do this. That'd be cool, actually. That'd be neat. And you've got Fueled by Slaughter with Rickard Karstark. Obviously, that's a Karstark affiliation, but it could be. They could go nuts and give them like Overrun or something insane.
I've always loved playing House Stark. Obviously, it's a bit tougher lately with some of the different changes and stuff they've undergone. But mate, if I could have a standard unit with Overrun built in, I'll be all over that.
Yeah, I think what we can agree on is that there's a lot of room in the design space to do some cool things with this unit. We've both given some pretty neat ideas that would make sense thematically. The artwork says that whatever the case is, they're brutal. I mean, these guys look brutal. A guy running around on a horse swinging an axe. Maybe it's not historically accurate, but It looks cool. Cool. All right, let's take a look at these Goldcloaks here. These were confirmed to be Lannister Goldcloaks. What Michael Chanel did say about them is that they're not overly impressive with their offensive stats, not overly impressive with their defensive stats, but they will bring control. So I'm guessing you've got like a 7.54 on a 4+. That's your standard, decent attack profile. It's not good. It's not great. It's just barely better than Free Folk Raiders. But defensively, it's going to be probably a 4+, 6+. That's your average, your quote unquote average defensive profile. These guys do look to be wearing a decent amount of armor. I mean, they've got the shoulder pads. That looks to be chainmail on their chest. It's probably 4+. I can't imagine it. I don't think they'd be a 3+, 6+, and then Michael would say, well, their defensive profile is not great. I'm sure that it's an average defensive profile. The question would be, is it 6+ morale or 7? Because they kind of consider both of those to be average numbers, and you get kind of a mixed bag between the two. You've got Mountains Men at a 4+, 7+. You've got Stark Sworn Swords at a 4+, 6+, and they're both kind of considered to be average. Now, the control element. This could be a brand new design space for the Lannisters. Could be a very unique ability. Mux, when he said something like that, was So Discord. You've got a unit that just brings So Discord. That works well with the Lannister control. They gave it to the Martells. They gave it to Euron Greyjoy. Perhaps they're going to give it to Lannisters, who are the control faction. That's one guess. Another option that I think Lannister players would obviously would be something like the Silenced Men's Infamy, where they're doing something to bubble like a morale debuff. Obviously, the Greyjoys have to have pillage tokens to bump that bubble up. Lannisters don't have that type of mechanic, but it could be something like that. So you've got the Red Cloaks, who are like a reverse Lannister supremacy. They do Lannister supremacy type deals on their own. They'd probably be crazy overpowered, right? If they did -1 to morale tests for each of their ranks. So maybe it's -1 for each rank remaining after the first. Something like that would be cool. So at full ranks, they'd do a -2. At 2 ranks, they'd do a -1 to morale. That type of thing, again, it would be welcome in Lannisters because it would really help things like subjugation of power. It's another big kicker to the Hear Me Roar. Would it get out of hand with Red Cloaks? Maybe. I don't know. You're committing. It depends on how many points these guys are, but you're guessing that they're not 5, so you'd probably be committing at least 12 or 13 points to it if these guys were 7. I don't know. It could be interesting. What do you think? And that's all that we really got from him. No, they're not blowing anything away with their attack profile or their defense profile. They're bringing control.
Did he definitely confirm these were going to be Lannister, not neutral then, yeah?
I don't remember if he did or not. He said they're Goldcloaks. I can't imagine that they're a neutral unit. I'm sure they're Lannister.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because obviously in a TV show and the books they start off with House Stark, don't they, and then end up getting bought by a House Lannister. I didn't know if maybe they were going to do some really cool mechanic like use them as neutral just to flesh out the neutral faction maybe. But I mean, in fairness, they're wearing a lot of red, so I think you're right. I think they're, even if it's not been confirmed by him, I think it's pretty much. It looks like they're going to definitely be a Lannister unit.
Yeah, and it looks like they're in a Lannisport Bazaar, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, man. I think something like So Discord would be quite nice. So you said heavy control. Did you say heavy control, medium control?
I don't want to misquote him.
Yeah,
and get myself in trouble. I don't know that he put an adjective on. He just said that they bring control.
Maybe they do something with the bags and the tactics board because they're obviously heavily money orientated. Obviously, as we've been talking, I've been looking at we was looking some more at the artwork, but if you look on the far right hand side, it looks like there's an attachment there as well because it looks like that's some sort of captain. He's got like a gold circle on his chest plate.
Oh, yeah, you could be right. Yeah, he's not wearing chainmail. He's got a breastplate.
Yeah. So he's got like that golden circle in the center, and he's obviously wearing a fully gold cloak as well. So
yeah, good eye.
Maybe he is part of the control.
Well, maybe he brings So Discord for 1 point.
Yeah,
that'd be neat, wouldn't it? Yeah, a Lannister can only hope.
We know how to speculate, don't we, eh?
Well, that's fun. All right. Anything else you think for these guys with the limited description? a number of cool things they can do. They could even bring in a brand new control element. Obviously, we didn't see anything like So Discord until Euron came about, so could be a completely new type of design space.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always up for bringing in new abilities in. I think it's really cool how they recycle the old abilities, because you sort of know where you stand with those abilities, and it's easy to sort of keep track of and FAQ if they need to. But yeah, I'm always a fan of bringing new stuff in, because it just shakes the game up a little bit and opens more doors. But do you think it's definitely Goldcloaks, or do you think the actual box set is this guy right at the front on the right hand side in the shadow with a beard? Maybe this isn't. It's a Father Christmas box set.
Maybe it's just maybe the entire box is like Lannisport peasants. Like they're poor fellows, but they're not, because they don't have any faith benefits. Maybe they're just Lannisters get a 3-point 12 wound infantry unit, which is exactly what they need to leverage their pyromancers. So that's the entire conspiracy, is to give Lannisters 11 activations, so the 11th can be a unit of pyromancers that just go in and dunk on whatever they want to dunk on. Well, let's move on to your ladies. I guess they're your guys and your ladies. There's a little bit of a mix. These are the Pit Fighters, with Drogon in the background. Now that Drogon actually does look like a bigger Drogon than what we have in the game. That looks like a big ass Drogon. I mean, I'm just saying, that does not look like a juvenile Drogon, does it? Because you have to assume it's very far in the background, and judging how big he is compared to that lion, that far in the background, I think that's a pretty big dragon, man.
Yeah, adult dragons coming soon.
Oh god. I'm fine with it as long as they're balanced. If a juvenile dragon does what we see here, I'd hate to imagine what an adult dragon does, but I'm sure we'll get it at some point. But by way of the Pit Fighters, they don't look heavily armored at all. Even though we've got another reference to Xena Warrior Princess is the vibes I'm getting from this chick, boob plates and all. Even with the boob plates, there's not a lot of armor there. And if I don't know, like the Unsullied don't have a lot of armor, but they give them a nice defensive profile based on their elite status. I can't imagine that Pit Fighters are considered nimble enough to get that type of status. But I'm gonna guess that they're like a 5+, 6+ defensively, and they're gonna come big. They're gonna get hardened base. They're Pit Fighters. I mean, they're fighting freaking lions, man. I'm gonna say it. They're hardened. That's what I'm gonna guess. Probably not amazing attack profile, but it's surely it's decent. So I'm gonna say like maybe a 6-point unit. They've got 3+ to hit with a decent melee number, maybe 764, something like that. They're gonna have some type of ability, maybe Sundering, something like that, and they're gonna have hardened. That's my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'd quite like to see maybe Vicious on them. You think that being Pit Fighters, they're going to be, well, they're basically born to fight, aren't they? So something like Vicious. I mean, I'm just praying to the old gods and the new. This is going to be the 5-point unit that I've just been gagging to have in the Targaryen roster. That isn't, in sort of lieu of a revamped Stormcrow unit. But I'd love these to be 5 points. I don't know they will be, but I'd love them to be 5 points. I'd love to see, if we're going to go into wish listing, I would love to see like the ability to adopt different fighting styles within reason. Obviously, not you can't. Just maybe if it's a bit like the R'hllor Faithful, where you got I know it's a big block of text, but maybe like 3 different fighting styles you can assume each time they activate, and you locks into it for the round.
You're thinking something more like the Lannisport City Watch, who have adaptive style that they can spin that order for a defense or an attack bonus. So maybe they have an order that lets them choose once per round some attack buff.
Yeah.
That would be neat, actually. I like that because they're carrying a different array of weapons here because they're Pit Fighters. So That's I like that. I like that.
Because if you look, see the ones that we see the most in this artwork, the most prominently are the three at the front, but there's actually a fourth guy in just underneath the left side guy's right arm. He looks like a Stark Sworn Sword. He's got like a helmet on with chainmail sort of around his neck and that. So there's actually 4 different sort of styles there. So it'd be quite nice to have different styles of fighting. Maybe the concept's a little bit too complicated for that sort of the unit card, but no, we can wish list, can't we?
No, it's an interesting idea. I like it actually. Another interesting concept that could work for them thematically would be To the Last. I hope they're not 7 points, which is where we see, like a 6-point unit. Their defensive profile is not great, so maybe they just get To the Last. I mean, the pit fighters are surely desperate. I mean, they're they're doing the best that they can to stay alive. Staying alive. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool. Number of things they can do with it. Let's move on to this. This is just completely mysterious. We don't even know what they are. So if you look, if we're certain that there's some type of Starfall affiliation, some type of Starfall unit, what do the Starfalls have in speed 6? I mean, they're both cavalry. They're considered fast, but they don't really share anything else. There's not like the quote-unquote Starfall theme that we've seen fleshed out.
Darkstar is known to be an amazing swordsman. That's his thing. He's supposed to be a really great swordsman. So if this is a Starfall unit, if it's potentially a Darkstar unit, you've got to assume they're going to be properly elite. Like I'm talking potentially Kingsguard level.
Well, those are some big ass swords, and I'm a wisher, right? So what I would like to see is something like the old Great Axe ability. Something to simulate a very, very heavy swing with that sword. So they start a turn engaged. Maybe they're like a 7-6-5 profile if they're elite. So maybe instead of, if there were a lot of complaints about great axes, right? So that the ability was reworked, but maybe they lose 1 attack die, or maybe they suffer -1 to hit, right? So they hit on 3, so you suffer -1 to hit, and then this attack doesn't allow defense saves, representing, they're double grabbing these gigantic swords and taking a wild swing at you, and if they hit you, you're screwed, right?
What they should do is give them the original Great Axe rule. They were absolutely broken.
Mighty Cleave.
Yeah. Every successful hit, have another hit. Brilliant.
Hey, you know what? We are currently trying to, as a community, think of ways to de-incentivize taking just the crappy 4-point units, no defense units. Bring back Mighty Cleave, baby. Let's see it.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, that was such a cool ability. Oh, it was such a cool attack ability. It was scary.
I'm sold. Send it back. Bring it back.
Hopefully they're going to be elite. Do you think they're going to sit at 6 points? Or do you think they've got to be more than 6, aren't they? They're going to be like,
I don't know. It depends. It depends on what they are and the direction they go with. If they're just a regular Starfall type unit, I could see them being 6 points. Another probably phenomenal Martell 6-point unit because they've knocked all of them out of the park. If they want to go the elite status, they could do 7. You've just got to keep in mind they're competing with Royal Guard, and Royal Guard at 7 points for me are maybe the best. Besides Ranger Hunters, you're always going to say Ranger Hunters because of their explosive offensive capability, but in terms of a unit that just does everything, it's Royal Guard for me at the 7-point slot. They're so well designed.
It looks like it could potentially be an attachment at the front as well because he's got quite a lot more gold sort of on his armor.
Could very well be.
And it's quite what I quite like. It's quite difficult to work out what's what in the artwork. Obviously, they're obviously kicking the living out of people on the floor, but so you've got 1, 2, 3 sort of in the foreground, and you've got 2 in the background as well. And presumably this hand in front of us is another one. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like maybe intimidating presence. Maybe.
Ooh, yeah.
They look like they're quite intimidating.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't think we've got any Martell stuff with intimidating presence so far, have we?
No.
Nice. Maybe sundering, because all great swords tend to come with sundering, don't they?
Yeah, unless it's The Baratheon greatsword.
That's the Baratheon tax, though, isn't it? That's the Baratheon tax. They're not allowed nice things. Yeah, I really like them.
Yeah, the artwork's phenomenal. I love the color scheme. I've always been a fan of just like the cream color going with some other vibe color. So obviously purple and cream work really. Come down to these guys, which we're assuming that they're a Greyjoy unit. Although interestingly, they could be a Lysene unit. You put the idea in my noggin, then I kind of ran with it, and then now you're backing it up, and now I kind of believe you. Actually, I think it's possible. You don't see anything aside from assumption that directly ties this to Greyjoys and not pirates. So, if they are a Greyjoy unit, do we think that they're a 5-point unit? Are they a 4-point unit? Just exactly what Greyjoys need?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be. If it's a Greyjoy unit, I don't think they're going to be 4 points. I think Greyjoys have got more than enough access to 4-point units. It could be a 5-point unit because the only 5-point unit they currently run is Reavers, right?
They've got Reavers and jeez, I don't play a lot of Greyjoys. I think that might very well be their only 5-point unit. Probably a 5-point unit.
Yeah. I think if they're Greyjoys, it's going to be a 5-point unit. And to be fair, if they are Lysene pirates, there could be a 6-point unit for Lysene pirates. They might be the more elite sort of pirate, maybe. What do you think?
Perhaps, yeah. Could see that. Something like that.
I just think it's really strange. It's not a single piece of Greyjoy iconography on there at all.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, the interesting thing with this box, you've really got no clues as to what they're doing, other than carrying torches in what looks like to be the middle of the day. So, I mean, I don't know. You could go a little bit further with the pillage mechanic, and they burn stuff down. You've got interrogate with the Lysene Bosson, so he kills you and then mills your cards. I don't know. Maybe these guys kill and burn the unit, and it's something like a corpse pile, like what Dany, Queen of Meereen has.
Oh yeah, nice. That'd be really good as unit ability. Yeah.
Yeah. So they when they kill a unit, they set fire to them, and it scares people. I don't know. It's something you could maybe see. I don't know. I feel like maybe there's a reason that they're carrying torches. I mean, they're obviously here to burn it, so
Beat up fishermen.
yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. You don't see. I mean, if this makes its way onto the sculpt, we don't have any other than Samwell carrying a torch, right?
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, I personally find it hard to understand what the Greyjoys are missing that this unit could bring. Yeah, 'cause it looks like it's something to come in direct competition with Reavers, but Reavers do the hitting thing really well, don't they?
I think what they're missing is a 5-point like mid-grade defense, like something that could be a little bit tanky. Like you've got the Lannister Guardsmen, but in terms of Greyjoys, other than the Ironmakers, is like super glass cannony with low defense. It would be nice to have something that was just a 4+ defense. Maybe it doesn't have the greatest attack profile, but just something that can sit there and soak up a little bit of damage without you having to dump all of your healing resources into them.
Yeah. What about Motley Armaments?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but the units with Motley Armaments aren't exactly setting the world on fire right now. Which is what these guys intend to do, is set the world on fire. Perhaps with Windermere shifts, you could get them to the flanks, but I don't know. I just don't see it being something that they really need. I mean, it could make sense that they have Motley Armaments, but I don't know.
You'd pop a Reaver Captain in there, get onto our flank.
Yeah, that would be decent. That would be decent for sure. No, I think that's what they need. That's my final answer. They need something somewhat defensive. And these guys don't look like they're wearing a lot of armor, so they're probably another 5+, 7+ unit. But
time will tell, my friend. Time will tell.
On to this last box. Didn't get much information on this, as I mentioned. Besides, Michael Chenal said that this is Shay. That's as far as I recall. That's all we've got. I think the community has pieced together that in the left-hand side you've got the Hound and Arya. So that's the Hound. He's got the scar on his face, and the rest of I think Carl Kirsten and some others have put together that the bottom right, is Rorschenbiter, which makes sense. Problem is, none of that helps in terms of if they're Stark or Lannister, or if they're neutral or Lannister. The Hound obviously has Lannister affiliation, but he could be a neutral if it's on the run. The Hound, if it's after, if it's post Joffrey, the King, if it's post that, it could be a neutral. The Hound. I don't know. I don't think that Rorschenbiter had any affiliation with Brotherhood Without Banners, so I don't think this has anything to do with that affiliation. Brotherhood Without Banners, I don't see that fleshing out in this box at all in any way, shape, or form. The questions that we've had are who the two in the center are. We know this is Shay. I'm buying that this is the Hound and Arya, and I'm not even a book lore guy. I'm buying that this is Rorschenbiter.
Rorschenbiter, they were part of the Brave Companions, weren't they? So they weren't part of the Bloody Mummers?
Possibly. I think maybe.
I'm sure that they're part of those the Bloody Mummers, which, I'll be honest, I really, really hope that is the case, because of all the neutral sort of sub-factions, it's the Bloody Mummers are the ones that are sort of trailing at the minute, well, them and Stormcrows. But sorry, I interrupted your flow, man.
No, you're fine. You're not bothering me at all, actually. No, you could be right. The only thing I know of Rorschenbiter is that they were captive along with Jaqen and Arya, right?
Yeah. But I think I'm sure in the books they end up with the Bloody Mummers.
Okay.
So under Vargo.
That's probably what's led to the other theory that perhaps the guy in the middle with the axe is Elend Payne, is what I've heard. But I've also heard that perhaps these two guys are Bloody Mummer, some type of Bloody Mummer affiliation. And I just don't know. This goes into too much. You need to know some of the lore, but so maybe these are two. Are there any Bloody Mummer guys that carry this type of a weapon? This weapon feels important, right?
Yeah.
They've done the trouble to draw this. I mean, I don't think they just made this weapon up inside their head. Is there any description of this in the book? This type of a weapon?
Not that I remember, but I think you're onto something, and I think there's going to be people in the community that are way more into the books and sort of invested in the books than we are, because I think that axe does mean something, and I think that could be the key to working out who this guy is.
That's a very, very unique weapon.
But if you look at his attire, what he's wearing, he looks quite Stormcrowish to me. Yeah, with the dervishes, with like the flying robes and stuff.
Yeah.
And in the same way that I think the axe is key to identifying who this man is, at the back, the guy, the helmet that he's wearing looks quite unique.
Yeah.
So maybe that's key to working out who this guy is. But I mean, if it is neutrals free, which I'm pretty sure I'd buy that it was neutrals heroes free rather than Lannisters, because Lannisters have got their heroes free, and going in with a heroes 4 box, the Lannister heroes 4 box seems to be a bit greedy on the Lannisters' part.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, because the box with Kevin and Adam was a fairly recent release.
I don't see how they're going to be, but I was hoping we were going to see maybe a Golden Company guy in Heroes Box 3, or perhaps a Lysene character. But that's cool. It means we've got more to look forward to in future.
Possibly. So if you look at the Bloody Mummers, you'll see that you've got Timian of Dorne. Says that he is in the rest of the gang. Weapon of choice is called a blade on a stick. So if you just look at this drawing, I mean, that could be the interpretation of a blade on a stick. His iconic item is an iron half-helm wrapped in red silk scarf. Now, I don't see a half-helm wrapped in red silk, but he does appear to have some type of red silk around his waistband. And that's probably important because he's in the very center, and it looks like there's probably some attention being brought to the fact that he's wearing red along with that armor. So I'm not sure who he is, because there's also a description of the second in command of the Bloody Mummers, and he is described as he wears a leather cloak fringed with long blonde hair, and this guy does appear to be long blonde hair. But I'm gonna guess that these two are Bloody Mummers. It says in the wiki that they're known for carrying around axes, and they are known to just chop people's limbs off. So I'm saying this guy has an axe over his shoulder, and this blade on a stick, or this axe on a stick, or whatever it is, seems very Bloody Mummer to me. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to me, because Because if the front two are part of the Brave Companions, then the centre two could very well be part of the Brave Companions, which sort of all ties that together. And that sort of ties in quite well with obviously the Bolton's being released quite soon, because they were quite heavily involved and intertwining their storylines. And also it's part of Arya's journey, where she meets Rouge and Biter quite a bit in one of the books. So it makes sense. It's sort of like a heroes box, neutral heroes box 3, centered around maybe Arya and the people she meets, rather than Shay. Shay ruins that. But
No, I don't. I think the argument for Shay being a neutral is that although she has ties to Tyrion and Tywin, she really doesn't have any loyalty. I mean, her only loyalty is through money, right? I mean, she was a prostitute, so I think we can say that word without offending anyone, right? I mean, that's the technical term for it.
loyalty through coin, that is.
Yeah, I think she makes a case for being a neutral because she can be bought, right? What does she do would be interesting. Obviously, she's got to be an NCU. She has to be in. There's not anything. She doesn't go anywhere near any battle in any way, shape, or form, right?
No, yeah, not at all. But yeah, I mean, you like to think there's going to be a couple of NCUs in there, because the NCU sort of, I guess it's difficult for the designers, because when you make a neutral NCU, you have to take into account the entire game, because every single person, other than Free Folk, what a shame, can use them.
I was hearing the theory that Sandor and Arya are like a Cersei Tommen type NCU. That would be interesting. I mean, Sandor's obviously not political in the sense that he gets involved in politics, but you can make a case for him being an NCU because some of what he's doing here has big implications politically, right? I mean, he's with Arya, gets involved with Brienne and Catelyn and things like this. So he does, without necessarily fighting and killing, he does shape some of the outcome of what happens in that kind of Stark Lannister war.
Yeah, and I think his ability should be the king.
And they should write it out, no bleeps.
yeah. And what his ability does is, when he's on the tactics board, Joffrey counts as not controlling anything.
Exactly. And you know what else? If you field Sandor king and your opponent is fielding Joffrey, your opponent literally required by the rules to poop his pants. Doesn't have a choice. Have to poop your pants. Or you forfeit.
Or maybe the ability to be called every chicken, and that will then tie into this chicken at the front. Maybe the chicken's the NCU.
You know, that could be a thing.
Easy to paint as well.
Well, I have no clue. I have no clue what they would do with Shay.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? It's a box that we're doing like just a sort of talk about the reveal, and we've gone down a rabbit hole trying to work out who these guys are. So I like these. I like these reveals where it's not obvious who these are. But I think we've had a good guess though.
There's some cool stuff that you could do with Shay as an NCU. She could. I mean, it's a bit extreme, right? But you could do something with her where she gives the opponent a victory point, and then she can do something real funky with the tactics board, like award your opponent 1 VP, remove one of their NCUs from the board, and then she can go and claim the zone that they were on previously. They count as activated and just get straight pulled off of the board. Something like that would be interesting. I'm sure that they probably wouldn't do it. I think people would be mad about that. But I'm sure that there's something that you can do to make a case for her being on the political board using, obviously what she uses to get her way. I'm sure they'll find some finesse way. All right, we could spend forever talking about the possibilities of this, but I'm thankful for the lead from whoever it was in the community. Again, I think it was in Discord, Sunday Slaughter General. It might have been Carl Kirsten. It might have been Mark Ridge. A combination of them were giving some clues on what some of this stuff could be. But I think after we checked out that Brave Companions wiki, I feel pretty confident saying that these are 2 axe-wielding bloody mummers in the center there.
Yeah, and I think that's exciting as well, isn't it? Because as I mentioned earlier, that it's the the bloody mummers are sort of getting left behind a little bit. They've only got the one, obviously. Stormcrow's only got the one commander as well, but it'd be nice to sort of see a new bloody mummer commander, some new bloody mummer attachments. Because the bloody mummers don't have any attachments, do they? No, they're just 2 units they've got at the minute. So maybe seeing another unit in the future, some more attachments, flesh out the bloody mummer side. I think it'd be quite cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the mummers are cool. They're definitely fun to play. They're just obviously not the most competitive at the moment. So it's always nice to see something that brings a unit that's not seeing a lot of play, that's not overly competitive choice, to something that brings them into power. Even if it's like, even if on its own in a vacuum maybe it looks too good, but it only works with something that's not great, then it's, does that make sense? Yeah. So
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to go down a rabbit hole this evening, looking into, because we've got to presume we're going to get 2 commanders in this box, and I think it's safe to assume it's going to be the 2 guys in the middle, isn't it?
I think so too. It'll be interesting to see what Rorge and Biter do, but I have complete confidence that Michael and Fabio, both as book lovers, have come up with something very, very cool for all of them. But yeah, you're right. Normally, you're seeing 2 commanders and you're seeing 2 NCUs that come in these types of boxes. So Shay is pretty much a lock as an NCU, and then I'm gonna guess that Sandor and Arya, or just Arya herself, is some type of NCU. Arya could be some type of prisoner type NCU. I mean, she's technically not Sandor's prisoner, but she kind of is on the run. So I'm sure they will make something very cool out of it. So
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
that is the end of any spoiled images that we have to kind of cover and wish list and speculate. Did you have any final thoughts on any of this, Grant?
No, not really. When we see these sort of leaks come out, it's really interesting because we sit here and we speculate and try to wish list what we hope these units are going to be. And I think, I'm really looking forward to the Umber Cavalry. I'm really looking forward to the Targaryen unit. I'm really looking forward to seeing what these. Well, I'm looking forward to all of it, man. Like, even as someone that just enjoys the game, especially this Neutral Heroes 2 box. I'm really interested to see how that's shaking up.
Neutral Heroes 3. No, I think you're right. It's definitely like you have to set your expectations to the point where, you don't let yourself get disappointed if it's not what you expected. But it's not just wish listing for ourselves. I think what we like to do here is imagine things that come shake up the meta and just make the game a little bit differently, competitively or casually. Just seeing different stuff, new puzzles to kind of solve and figure out, new units to try out and see if you can make them work. That's where the excitement comes from. So I think that's why a lot of us do get excited. We're just waiting for something to come out that's going to be enough of a change to disrupt the current flow of the game, at which point you can shift and then a whole bunch of things start coming around as being effective that weren't effective before. But with that said, thank you for listening to us just sit here and kind of chew the fat on what we think they are and what our wish listing is. We absolutely want to hear from you guys, though, so drop us anything in the comments. If we've egregiously missed something, if we've misspoken, if there's something right in our faces that we didn't see, let us know about that. If you're a fluff head, let us know certainly about these hero boxes. If we're tracking correctly with these 2 guys being bloody mummers, just kind of play along with us, what you think they'll be, what you think you might see from them, and let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to answer back to you. But until then, this is Brett and Grant with Yecats Miniatures, and we hope to see you all again soon.
Take care, guys.